Hey, I'm Nathan Tabor, and thanks for joining me on Handling Life. What I want to talk with you about today is, where does fear come from? Why do we get those feelings? Why do we get that little bit of stress or anxiety, or a lot of it? And just so you know, fear controls a lot of people. Fear at times controls everyone. So if you're being controlled by fear, you're not alone. I've been controlled by fear. There's been times in my life where I couldn't function. Been times in my life where I was literally or figuratively in the corner, just couldn't figure out what to do. I had basically become immobilized. And if you've ever been there and you're willing to admit it, it's not a good place to be, because it really messes with yourself, your mentality. It messes with your health, messes with your relationships. It just kind of messes up everything in your life, right? And it's something that you deal with. It's something I deal with. Everyone deals with. An atheist deals with this. An agnostic deals with this. Christians deal with this. Everyone, whether you're a man, a woman, a child, whether you're young or old or successful or living paycheck to paycheck, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what status you hold. Everyone has some type of fear that they deal with. So, what I want to talk about today is you're not alone. This is not something that you have to deal with by yourself. This is not something that makes you unique. It's not something that all of a sudden your life is falling apart and there's no hope. There's nothing you can do, because there are things you can do, and there is hope. For many years in my life, my internal fear that became an outward sign, it affected who I was money. The fear of the lack thereof. Where was my resources going to come from? How was I going to pay for things? How was I going to do the things I wanted to? And I got into this mentality of the what ifs. What if this doesn't go right? Well, what if that doesn't go right? Well, what if this doesn't go right? And that thought process just snowballed into it. I almost couldn't function at a level. I couldn't function at a level that I needed to, because it was, well, if I go this way, this is going to happen. And if I go this way, this is going to happen. The problem was twofold. One, I didn't need to be worrying about that. Two, I needed to be turning that over to God, because God was providing for me. I had what I needed. I had the resources I needed, but I couldn't even take the time to thank God for what He had done for me, because I was so concerned about what was going to happen tomorrow, or 3 weeks from now, or 3 months from now. And just a side note, all fear isn't bad. Sometimes that fear or that little feeling we get is the direction of, hey, you don't need to go that way. That's not, God's will for you, or that's not a safe area, or that's something you don't need to do. So you don't discount fear totally, because at times it does play well if we're trying to seek out where we should be going. So if there's a little bit of good fear, what is bad fear? What is the fear that I've had and still do have at times, and I'm sure you have? It's the fear that keeps us from seeing a clear path, the way out of. If you get lost in the woods, the best thing to do at times is just to stop for a moment and look at your surroundings. See if you recognize something. Because if you just keep walking and keep crisscrossing, you can't ever catch your bearings. The other types of fear is the fear that just freezes us. We do stand still, but instead of looking around to try to figure out where we are, we're immobilized. We're either looking down, or we're staring out, or we're looking up, or we're there, we're still, but we're not mentally aware. And then ultimately, the bad type of fear is that takes us away from God. We should be drawing closer to God. We should be developing a deeper relationship with Him. But I've been there. I mean, when that fear comes on you, and that stress and that anxiety and the butterflies in the stomach, I mean, the last thing you really feel like doing is sitting down and reading the Bible. It's what we should do, but it's not the reaction. The fear doesn't provoke. It doesn't want us to go get closer. Not only get closer to God, but it really makes us pull in, right? We kind of cut everyone off. And I don't know if that's, part pride or embarrassment, or, maybe a combination thereof, that we don't want people to get close to us because we don't want them to know what's actually going on. Fear is defined as this. It's an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. The synonyms of fear is terror, fright, fearfulness, horror, alarm, panic, agitation, trepidation, dread, consternation, dismay, distress, anxiety, and the list goes on and on and on here. Fear is something that causes us to be someone who we aren't. It causes us to act in a way that we shouldn't. It causes us to miss opportunities. I missed a lot of things in my life because I wasn't the person, I wasn't the personality that I was supposed to be, because I was so engaged with this fear, this emotion. So where does fear come from? Where internally? I do know this. Fear is not from God. When you look at 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." When we're in the state of fear, we definitely don't have power. We definitely struggle to show love. And we don't have a sound mind. So if fear is not from God, who is fear from? What do you think? What's your first thought on that? Yes, is it the human side of us, the flesh? Or is it that this fear, if it's not of God, is from the devil or Satan? He's putting that into us? Because if you're saved and you're striving to serve the Lord, what does Satan want from us? How can he throw us off our game? His goal is then to keep us from serving God. And one of the ways that he does that is by bringing fear into our life. What if? What if? What if? Right? And all of a sudden, you're just in the corner with the what ifs, with the fear, and you're not doing what God has called you to do. I've been there. I struggle at times not to be there these days. But I'm coming to realize and understand that there are things that I can control as long as I understand where they're coming from and what their purpose is. Then it's something that I know how to adjust to. So fear is not from God. It's very clear in his scriptures about that. So fear has to come from Satan. So, fear keeps us from doing the things we're supposed to do. It keeps us from being a witness to others. But it also just disrupts our entire life. Take God out of it, which you really can't and you shouldn't. But if you did, fear still makes you a person that you don't want to be. It still messes with your life. So what's causing your fear? Why are you dreading certain things? Why are you unwilling to change in certain areas of your life? Why are you unwilling to address certain things that need to be addressed? Are you going to continue to let fear control you and let it dominate your life? Let it affect who you are and affect those around you? Or are you going to take steps to change and recognize that this is something that you don't have to have in your life? Now, you will still have it. We are still humans. We're not perfect. We never will be perfect. So we're still going to have to deal with some things, but it doesn't have to dominate us. So as you look through this, as you consider this, how can you deal with this? We got to deal with the mental obstacles. You got to deal with, what are others going to think? What are others going to say? What are others? And as you go down the list, does it really matter what they say? And what they're going to say, is it any worse than what they're currently saying behind your back? Think about that. Then deal with, where does God fit into all of this? If fear is dominating you and fear is controlling you and you're called to a purpose, like I'm called to a purpose, is fear helping you? Is fear getting you to where God wants you to be, or is fear holding you back? I know the answer to that question, and so do you. So you have to deal with this. If you have to go to, get counseling from your pastor or an assistant pastor, or you need to go and sit down with someone who is a, certified, clinical psychologist or a doctor, do it. Why let this fear control your life? Remember what God said in 2 Timothy 1:7. He, God, did not give us the spirit of fear. So I want to encourage you, address this problem head on. If fear is controlling you, start taking steps today, right now. Literally this moment, start taking steps to overcome that fear in your life so you can fulfill the purpose that God has called you to. Hey, I'm Nathan Tabor. My site is handlinglife.org. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I hope you'll share it with others, and please let me know if I can answer any questions for you or if I can help you in any way.